It is always a pleasure to be introducing Patrick. Patrick, if you've just joined us since, Patrick was just saying that we've known each other for about 18 years out of our both mutually 25 years in business serving accountants. And actually, Patrick and I have become very close friends, certainly in more recent years. And, you know, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever recommending Patrick as a specialist in helping accountants attract that perfect client. And that's exactly what this session is going to be about. It's what are the mechanisms that you can put in place to really start to attract the perfect client for you, the kind of client that you not only is going to be profitable, that's one element, isn't it? But the kind of client that we enjoy working with, that we don't dread when we see that phone number come up on the mobile, oh, it's that client, or the email that comes up. We want to enjoy working with our clients. We want them to be profitable, and we want the kind of clients that are going to be wanting the types of services that we get really excited about delivering as well. And that's exactly what Patrick's got in store for you in this session. So without further ado, let me hand over to you, Patrick.
That's fabulous. Thanks very much, Shane. We're big fans of AVN too. I think we've filled a few masterclasses over the years. So it's always wonderful to be speaking to AVN and AVN audience. Now, let's pull up some slides and we're all ready to go. What we're going to cover in the next hour is how to create that perfect client attracting website. Now, I want to tell you who's going to get the most out of the next hour. This really is for you if you're focusing on better as opposed to more clients. Also, you're going to really benefit from this if you find that your new business conversations revolve a little bit too much around price, because that's usually about a struggle to differentiate. And we're going to really focus on that today. And finally, of course, big focus, a big part of this that I'm going to constantly refer to is these better quality clients that want more from you, that want this fundamental help that's so much more enjoyable and, of course, profitable to deliver. Well, if you are amongst that, you will benefit enormously over the next hour. Now, quick 1 minute of me. As Shane has mentioned, I've been working with accountants purely, with very odd exception, since 1998. Over that time, we've helped generate millions, hundreds of millions of pounds of high margin advisory work. And one thing that I suppose is quite unique in terms of the perspective I have is that pre-COVID, I had a team of people on the phone and we purely worked with advisory clients. We only targeted business owners, businesses turning over $500,000 as a minimum. And my dubious pleasure was one afternoon a week, I would sit and listen to the edited calls. So what I was listening to, really to help train the team, but I was listening to business owners ranting about their relationships with their accountants and, of course, the problems they have within their business. So that's the kind of mindset that has burnt deeply into me. And, of course, the other thing is I take an absolutely awful picture. Must have taken 50 that day, and that's the best one we could come up with. Okay, how to create the perfect client attracting website. I think a major problem here is that all the focus is on the website and very little of it is on the perfect client. I'm going to show you very quickly the difference between average clients and perfect clients. Your average clients want a service. It's a compliance service. It's quite often a grudge purchase. It's something they have to get done. Of course, they want to get on with you. They want it to run smoothly, but their motivation is a service. With your perfect clients, they have a problem to solve. They have a block in their journey. There's a degree of X that they're trying to take out of the business that they are stuck and they need some help with. So average clients, of course, naturally would judge value by the cost they pay and how that would compare with another option they'd have to get that box ticked and that work done. If we're looking at perfect clients, they're going to judge value by the return. And I don't just mean the return on investment, but I mean the emotional return, how you're changing their lives. So your average clients, your straight compliance clients, you'll tend to have a transactional relationship with. But of course, your perfect clients are looking for something very different. They're looking for a transformation, and that's the relationship you'll have with them. Now, I wonder if, and put it into the chat box, if anybody recognizes this fella here. And I'll show you what's really revealing. This was just something I caught in a Sunday paper. He was asked a question about what he would have changed about his finances. And I thought his answer was really revealing and really connected to a lot of those conversations that I just talked about that I've listened to, those hundreds, if not thousands of hours I've put in over the last 20 years. Here's what he said. I would have got a really good accountant earlier who doesn't just keep your books, but who helps you build a business. I didn't do that until last year. Now, the reason I'm showing you this, what's really important is, let's hop back here. We will have a lot of clients who are sitting in here, average clients, who would love that transformation. And due to how we communicate and due to websites amongst as a key part of it, they just don't see that as something that their accountant can help them with. The word advisory would not connect to Drew here, Drew Pritchard, and the position he's in and the work, the help that he needs. So just touching on the language, but again, just saying we all have a lot of hidden diamonds in our client base. So what's the problem with accountants' websites? Well, I think there's one major fundamental problem. And that's if you look at it from the perspective of your clients, especially your perfect clients, they all look, and you know what I'm going to say, the same. Now, is that an issue? Is that a problem? Well, I think it's a bigger problem than we might anticipate, because in the words of esteemed Harvard professor Michael Porter, very successful book of his, Competitive Advantage, there's only two forms of competitive advantage. That's differentiation or low cost. So if you're not different, you will end up competing on price. And of course, that just turns you into a commodity where the lowest fee is going to win. So how did we get here? I think there's a fundamental key problem. And I don't think accountants, professional service firms are served terribly well by marketing companies, especially website designers. Let's have a look at what we actually put in the website. This is our firm's website. What goes in there? I think it's kind of a very obvious answer, isn't it? Our firms. So looking at, we've put quite a lot of research in, which I'm going to pop in and out of as we go. The shape this tends to take, how that manifests itself is in three separate areas. The first is what we do. So most websites focus heavily on the services we provide, which of course, very difficult to differentiate there. Who we serve. SMEs, small businesses, we'll see on a lot of headlines, a lot of homepages, but that's 99 point something percentage of UK businesses fit that category. And then of course, through the technology that we use to deliver those services. So pretty difficult to differentiate here. Then who we are. And again, we're looking at the credentials, similar experience, some variation in terms of the size, a bit about our history, a bit about how many offices we have. And another kind of key area that we see on the majority of firms' sites is this word we pride ourselves on and we are passionate about. It's almost an opening into the values of what they see as key about their practice. Again, not easy to differentiate. Last thing, of course, what's the point of the website? We want to attract new clients and we want to attract new team members, especially and more so today. I've never known it so bad, so difficult to attract team members. It is today. And we're 25 years in. I don't know if that reflects your view, Shane, but you must hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing it everywhere and in many of the other countries we're working with as well.
Yeah.
Not just the UK.
No, I had a group with 4 firms last week, and all of them, it was the major issue. So we're seeing websites now, a lot of the shift is away from clients, can't even take the work on, to trying to attract team members. But everything I'm talking about today applies just as well, which you'll see there. So how do we get across how good we are? Why you should choose us over a competitor? Well, again, that falls into 3 areas. First one is our technical expertise. Our high standards, our expertise within different areas. Next is how we deliver that service, how we as people get that across. might be we're friendly, we're client focused, we're tailored, personal service. And I think this is something we have seen grow enormously over the last 10 years. And I think it stems from this struggle to differentiate yourself. When perhaps you and your team have ever sat in front of a whiteboard and said, come on, why should they choose us over somebody else? It's difficult, it's tough. So we tend to come out with things like, well, we're different to other firms. We're more than accountants. We're beyond accountants. The only problem is when we get a little deeper with that, what we start to do is we just list similarities. This is quite well known research, David Ogilvy, back in the 60s, I think. You lose 80% of your readership from the headline, the first thing they see on your website, to that paragraph. So if you think of all the work you've put into your website, wasted, unless we can grab their attention, how important it is. This was some research we carried out from the top 100 UK accountancy firms. So this meant that we looked from 20 out to 100. And of course, halfway through it, they put the new list out. So we had another 20 odd firms to go and research. But we found that 1 in 4 of those firms, with all those marketing resources and that expertise, the headline, the first thing that the reader would see was the one thing they knew, the name of the firm they just clicked on and the fact that they were accountants. So I think, this isn't easy. I don't want to knock anybody on this. This is far from easy. This is what it looks like. Chartered accountants, business services, welcome to us. I think we can all agree that's really not going to grab somebody's attention. Other areas, once we start looking a bit deeper into the about us, again, we're seeing this struggle to differentiate. Leading firm, trusted advisor, friendly, etc. As I say, far from easy. Now we'll have a look at some examples from the great. We want to get across this difference and how we are better. We found just over 1 in 4 of those firms from the top 100, say excluding the top 20, actually had a headline that we broadly put into this brag or boast category. So top 50 firm, award-winning is ever so popular. Leading firm, again, high technical standard. What does it look like? I think all of these might be wrong, but certainly the vast majority are from top 100 firms, and clever, expert, brilliant minds, super accountants. You just see, try and put your head into the mind of that potential client. These kind of unsubstantiated claims just bounce off us. We're seeing now how popular the different and more to is. And again, you're seeing the same kind of claims here that don't really resonate, especially because that we can't back them up. So is it fair to say that putting us, our firm, our people at the center of our website isn't working? It's not differentiating us. So we have to ask that question of what should we put there? Who do we build the website around? Well, what about your perfect client? What about that client that small, perhaps 5% of clients that you're doing your best work for, that you have fabulous relationships with, that you're really helping change their lives? They have enormous respect for you. And when the phone rings and it is them, rather than, oh my God, when it's a bad one, you actually feel great and energized. Let's see how that looks. Here's your perfect client at the very heart of the firm. And again, we're breaking it down to 3 key areas that we want to get across. What I'm going to ask you to do is try and put yourself into the mind of your perfect client. The problem. So we touched on this earlier. What is the problem that you solve? You've got to understand that the more problems we solve, the more we dilute that strength. It's that option between being really red hot to the selected firms, and this is the work we're really good at, we love doing, and it's highly profitable, and really trying to be all things to all people. When we focus on the problem, rather than look at what we want to say, let's focus on how the perfect client feels, how we want them to feel. If you can explain my problem better than I can, you've earned the right to help me solve it. What we're looking for here, the first thing to be taken seriously, is they understand me. They understand my problem. I always think actually of a conversation I had with somebody, Shane, who had read your book.
Okay.
He said, when I read it, I got to whatever page it was. He said, and this sounds I've made it up. But he said, a tear rolled down my eye because I thought I was the only person who felt like this. I thought I was the only person who had these problems, and it felt really good to know I wasn't alone. And it's about that understanding. Show me you understand me. Next, let's have a look at that personal connection. You might find that there's people out there that can really help you beyond your problem, that can really help you push past those blocks in the business, but they're not really your kind of people. Now, we're trying to get that personal connection, so we want them to feel just as simple as they seem like our kind of people. That's all. We're not, it's not to say we want to marry you or anything else, but just to that point where there is some connection. And this requires you to demonstrate, to show some of your personality, to kind of strip away that professional suit that we all put on, so that we're actually, rather than using big words, the copy is how we would speak. We're telling people about us. It's so difficult, even with the top 100, to say, wow, doesn't that firm, I can see that they're a different type of people to the next firm. I couldn't see any of that. Next, rather than the claims that we're great, how about if we actually prove it to them? That if we can prove or demonstrate that we can solve their problem. What we want them to think, again, very simple, if they've helped them through this problem, maybe they could do it for us. It's that simple. That's all. So there we go. That is what we should be focusing on if we want to attract quality clients.
I think, Patrick, if you don't mind me just picking up on that part where you said about the personal as well, I think the trap that people fall into is that they think, okay, I'm a professional accountant and therefore I have to come across as professional. But people buy people at the end of the day, and they want to see that maybe you've got a sense of humor, maybe that you care about certain things that go beyond accountancy and various things like that. And I think all of those things are what really attract people to you, aren't they? It's the people by people era that we're in now. No longer is it, you're not limited to the 3 accountants that might be on your high street. You just got to pick one of them. They've got so much choice now. It's that personal connection that's so important, isn't it? So just want to, I'm probably saying exactly what you just said, but yeah, it's so important.
It really is, isn't it? Because if you think, if you're looking for that help of somebody they're going to have to work closely with you. They have to get you, there has to be that connection. We all want this business that we love. We all want a practice that we really enjoy. Now, as far as clients go, what we need there is these high margin clients with the highest possible lifetime profitability. So they stay with us a long time. We don't have to keep getting new ones. And again, it's that profitability. So we don't have to work with 10 times as many. We can work with 10 times less. Now, what that gives us is these enjoyable relationships, this really meaningful work that makes us feel fulfilled at the end of the day. And of course, that's an awful lot less stress and overwhelm and that control. So how are we going to get the clients in that are going to get us here? Well, the first thing we've got to do, we've touched on, is we've got to get their attention. We have to get their attention. And then once we have that, we have to work hard to develop their interest. And finally, this is what your website should be doing, what we all want our websites to do, is we need them to step forward and start the relationship. Now, somebody's slap bang new on your website, on your homepage, sign up today, get a quote today is not where their mind is. So we have to make sure that this offer is in line with where they are in this process, in this journey. But again, we're going to touch on that. Let's start with attention. Now, there are 3 key areas to grab hold and to maintain this attention from your perfect clients. The first that we touched on is this problem. What is the problem? The second is, once we've identified that, we have to connect with them emotionally around it. So this isn't about numbers and logic. And we do that by building this mental imagery. We build a story in their mind that really connects and holds their attention. We've got so little time today that we're going to focus on just one of those, and that's the problem. I often get accused of being miserable, or you're always focusing on the problems. Why can't we say, let's grow 1 million, or let's take over the world, or let's do whatever? I just want to look at how this works, the kind of neuroscience of what happens when we pay attention. I was thinking of when we're with the highest level of attention, if you like, with that extreme focus. And for me, what came into my mind was it was a car crash. Unfortunately, I've been in several car crashes, which is probably why I don't drive. When I was 10, somebody came to the side of us and took my teeth out and gave me the scar here. Within 6 months, we were coming back from the plastic surgery in Harley Street, and the tyre wrote off another car. But the one thing that was consistent about those moments was that how you felt in the real midst of the moment at that time. If I tell you my experience, and then please put in if it's similar to your own, if you've been in that situation, but time slows down, and it seems to take an age from that, for the initial impact to what happens next. And afterwards, again, extreme tiredness, just exhausted. The reason for that is that paying attention, that level of focus, has a really high metabolic cost. I mean, it just uses up an awful lot of energy. And if you think of how we've evolved as a species, we've evolved to pass our genes on, we've evolved to survive. So we've evolved to reserve energy for threats. So that's why you have something called loss aversion, which we're twice as motivated not to lose a pound as we are to gain a pound. I'm not saying that it always has to be a problem, but it's the more direct way to grab that attention. And attention requires and must produce this emotional reaction. So logic is not going to get us attention. Here's one of my favorite quotes. Logic makes you think, but emotion makes you act. I want to show you a quick bit of proof, a quick example of that. Here's some copy on inheritance tax. This comes from a firm's website. And again, you can't knock it. It's perfectly logical. It's giving you the details. The threshold starts here. This is the rate. So not surprisingly, you want to think about it, as soon as possible. So perfectly rational, perfectly reasonable. Now let's have a look at how that service, if you like, is translated into a problem and the emotional approach. Rather than a statement here, we're going to start the question. How to guarantee your kids get more than the tax man? Start talking about our kids, again, emotional. You've got my attention for a moment or two. Maintain it. Let me ask you a question, don't be offended. But the answer could determine how much of your wealth you pass on to your children, how much is taken by the taxman. Here's a question. Did you know if you're married, an estate worth 2 million, split between 4 kids, the taxman will get more than any one of your children? You just see a very different approach. I'd love to claim this as me, but it comes from Agora Publishing, who are renowned for their copy, and a magazine of their Money Week. So what problems should you focus on? I'm going to tell you that you want to ask your perfect clients. We have interviewed dozens of the best clients for firms. And not once have I had a partner tell me before we started those conversations, the major benefit or the major help that the clients told us they got from the firm matched what the partners actually told us beforehand. And it's that thing about we can't read the label from inside the bottle. When we're delivering a service, we've got no idea what it's like because we're not experiencing it. Ask those clients. And then think about the work you're most proud of. Think about the work that changed clients' lives. I was going to use a slide here, which came from one of your books, Shane, and I translated it into a spectrum, and it's taking the clients from this utter state of despair to feeling comfortable about the business, to actually looking forward to the business and to feeling they can they can really do anything. And that's the enormous benefit that accountants have. Now, moment of truth. I'll give you a minute to do this. I'd love you all now to open up another window and pull up your website. And if you could just put a yes in the box when you've done that, Andrew's going to let me know when we've got lots of yeses, and I can I can hop on. What I really want this, I don't want this to be me kind of preaching or some kind of academic exercise. I want you to be able to scribble some notes down, pencil in some changes, really just see how you are on these things. And at the end of this, to be in a position where you can make enormous changes so that the inquiries you're getting are from better quality clients, and you won't have, it'll shorten the conversations to them signing up, because you're going to be answering so many of their questions and proving your worth beforehand. How are we doing on the chat box there now?
There are lots of yeses, that's for sure.
Yeah, great. Right then. Okay, if you've got your website up, moment of truth. Is your website, is that heading forcing your perfect clients to pay attention? So you saw the type of ones that are most common, but is it actually focused on a problem or even a benefit that resonates emotionally with the perfect clients you want to attract? Or is it commoditizing you, putting you in with a lump of every other accountant? Mark it out of 10. If you're 10 to 7, you can give yourself a green, good to go. If you're 6 to 4, then you're a yellow. And if you're 3 to 10, 3 to 1, then you're a red. So we want to do a bit of work on that. It's quite urgent. Right, next, we're going to move on to the second key area, which, if you remember, is this interest. We've got our attention. You see, the thing is, we can lose a potential client so many different ways. We've got to keep them saying yes. We've got so many micro yeses to keep them on board. So once we've got their attention, we've still got an awful lot of work to do. Now, as far as maintaining and building this interest, it starts by getting them to a state of immersion. Now, what this means is when they're hyper-focused, they're in there, they're stuck into that copy. They're on the journey with us, just like Chris was when he talked about Shane's book. Immersion key. Next, personal connection. We want, again, what we touched on earlier is this relationship. We want some of our character to be coming across, some of our style, some of our values, some of our worldview to be coming across, so that they can say, yeah, my kind of people. Or, and if we're getting that, it means that people that aren't right for us equally are being repelled. We're sending them away. It's that magnetic attraction, attract or repel. Finally, proof of gain, what we've talked about. Rather than the brag and boast, we need to actually demonstrate that we deliver. Rush for time, so we're going to stick on the proof of gain, which I think is probably the most valuable. I mean, they're all really important. You need more than just the ones I'm highlighting, but I'm trying to focus on those that most valuable. I'm going to show you, first of all, when I talk to a lot of firms, accountants and professional service firms, they tell me, oh, we have case studies, Patrick. We have testimonials. We even have client interviews. But it's quite rare when they deliver on what they promise, when they actually show that they can help firms with those problems that they've outlined. So we know this isn't proof of gain, which is perhaps, understandably, where a lot of firms try and get that across. I'm just going to show you one case study. And you can see a lot of good work's gone on here, but it doesn't quite connect. So construction firm, bit about the client, here's the problem. The backlog in work, chairman was going to retire, daughter was going to take over. But the problem here is really one of fixing a problem, as opposed to, how would I put that? Let me phrase that a little bit better. It's a compliance issue, as opposed to a life-changing or an altering or transformation. The outcome was they cleared it up, new processes, etc. All valuable stuff. But in terms of that emotional connection, taking them on the journey, I think we need just something a little bit deeper than that. I hope that makes some sense. Here's, we looked at one or two testimonials. Again, great. What our clients have to say, super responsive, no last minute surprises. But it's all pretty much, they haven't messed up. They've done what they said they could. And it's very difficult to really wow people by just doing the basics, however well you do them. It's to really bring that joy, we have to do something more and above what they expected. Let's have a look at effective proof of gain, what proof of gain has to do, how it delivers and what it delivers. First thing is, you can't do it yourself. Only clients can show and demonstrate that difference. Otherwise, the reaction is always, well, they would say that, wouldn't they? So it has to be driven by the clients. It's emotional. forgive the jargon there, I thought I'd fix that. POG, proof of gain. It's that emotional connection that we've talked about, and it's taking them on a journey. This before and after. I started here. This is how I felt. This is how it was affecting me right the way through to the transformation. Key issue here that's so often we don't see on firms' sites is we are not the hero. Remember the superhero accountants in the capes? I can hear the abuse in my ears if one of those business owners had seen that. And we quite often found when we were targeting the high-end advisory clients that the conversation, they would be, if they're interested, first thing they'd do is pull up the website. And what quite often happened was it ended the conversation, because the conversation we were having about a transformation that the firm could make was not backed up. And again, it's not a deliberate thing. It's not a conscious thing. It's this subconscious, this rapid cognition. Something doesn't feel right. They wouldn't even be able to articulate it, but the interest was gone. So,
for a moment, you just reminded me of some research that Google have done that says that actually, when people are in that situation, maybe they've had a referral, maybe it's a networking event, a telesales call, whatever. Yes, they will look at the website, or they'll look at LinkedIn as well. And I think everything you're saying here equally applies to that LinkedIn profile page as well, doesn't it?
Totally. When we did the research, we didn't just look at the websites. We looked at the homepage and how that compared to the company page on LinkedIn. Because if it contradicted it, if it didn't support it, again, it's the same feeling. We've got to be consistent and focused on how we help. The purpose is, if I'm your perfect client, I want to see myself. And if it's a story, we experience it. We're actually feeling that gain as if it's us. Here's an example. I have to throw one of ours in. This was from a website we put together for Libby. We positioned her as the tough love accountant, really helping you succeed by asking difficult questions and holding you accountable. And she had an inquiry within the first couple of months. When I came across your website, I thought, wow, I wish I'd known you a few years ago. This fellow apparently lost his business and he was setting up again. And he's now one of Libby's higher value clients. And again, emotional connection. This only lasts a minute, and I am behind, but meet Ed. Ed runs a concrete cutting business. What we talk about is how we help company owners, business owners to work on the business, not in it. I want you to listen to Ed talking about his journey and his problem.
When I started off, it was me working out of a garden shed, destroying my body on a daily basis. And at some point, I had to come off the tools. So the amount of money that I generated per day in profit had to be accounted for elsewhere if I was to come off the tools. We had to recoup that money. And I had to have the work to govern, to be in that position. When I was on the tools all the time, day in, day out, and trying to manage other contracts and price work, it was sort of clouding my judgment on things because I was so busy all the time, and not only that, I wasn't able to go out and find new customers to then grow. So you sort of get stuck in this revolving wheel of death, I think I called it at one point, and then you start not enjoying it. And this is a key, because I was starting to think I'm in a hole that I don't want to be in anymore, and I actually started to dislike the industry and the job and the pressure that I was under all the time. And now we've come out the other side, whereby all of that hard work and effort has now become worth it. And I can honestly say part of that success of the business, from starting from nothing to, in excess of £400,000 this year in revenue, part of that success has been down to Advoco, 100%. Just helping me to get the time right on critical decisions.
And it's the language. Fabulous book I'd recommend by a fellow called Jeffrey Shaw, Lingo, the secret language of your ideal clients. He doesn't talk about working on the business, What he talks about is getting off the tools. if we want to attract high value clients like Ed, we want his clone. They're going to see themselves in Ed. When he talks about, I found it the revolving wall of death, he just captures it fabulously in a way we never could. So that's just an enormous benefit of proof of gain. Get it from the client. The other great thing about it is when we talk about the copy, this was just some copy we put together for a friend of ours who had an insurance company. But after the interviews, and of course the edited down to 2 minutes, all very focused on the problems they solved, rather than making those claims, we can get the clients to do the heavy lifting here, just by putting in half a sentence and what they say, what they do. When disasters strike, Catherine said he put everything together, put the reports, blah, blah. She goes on to say he stayed up half the night doing that. Richard said he answered the phone at 4:00 on a Saturday afternoon, and he called later to make sure I got home. We can say we're client focused, but if we can demonstrate it like that, you can see how powerful it is. And they're the heroes again. They're the heroes. Ever so key. Right then. Moment of truth, you know what to do. Grab the website, flip over to that page and have a look at any case studies or any testimonials and see if they're delivering that proof of gain. And of course, demonstrating is the word. As David Maister said, he's got a king of professional services. The best way to sell professional services is through demonstration, not assertion. So give yourself a mark out of 10, how well you're doing. And then convert it into that traffic light color. Now, final block, action. If we've got their attention, we have developed their interest, they're thinking all of those things that we've thought about, my kind of people, that, maybe they can help me, maybe they can do it. And then they just disappear off the page. We have to give them every encouragement, make it as easy as possible for them to actually start the relationship. 3 areas again, you knew this, didn't you? The first is the offer. What is the exchange of value? If you're asking them to get in touch in some form, what are you giving them back in return? Second, what format are you going to use? Is that going to be a lead magnet, a PDF? Is it going to be some cheat sheets? Is it going to be a micro course, etc.? What's the best way to get that across? And finally, the call to action, the wording, the copy, the design. I haven't got much time, even less than I'd hoped, so we're going to focus on the offer. What does the offer look like? Well, as I say, it's all about this exchange of value. So we need to get inside of their head, have a think here, what's in it for them? Where are they in the journey? Here are examples from the research. Quite surprising that 46% of those firms we looked at from the top 100 had no call to action beyond, talk to us today or, book a meeting. By far, the biggest call to action was to sign up to our newsletter, get our emails, our latest news. One of them, I think, even said our marketing emails, latest news on the company, on the business. They're not going to be interested, are they? Now, 1 in 6, is that something like that? 1 in 6, 1 in 7 had something, could be of value. Quite general, but there's some value there for them. And about 1 in 20 actually focus on specific trends, sectors, some detail that is very quite kind of matched to where they were. What do they look like? You can see it here. Sign up to the newsletter, subscribe, think what's in it? Surely we can do better than that, can't we? We can give them more help, more value. This is one I found the other day, and this was an exit pop-up. So got onto the homepage, mouse is triggering around the edge of it. Before you go, find what you like, fill all of these fields in. I think the last research I read, you lose 20% of inquiries for every additional form you add. So again, where's the value? How difficult are you making it? What's in it for them? Make it irresistible. Here's just one we put together, very simple for a client. For me, Hall in Dublin, firm is positive cash flow. Pure focus is on cash flow. Simple guide, take the worry and uncertainty out of your cash flow. 25 practical tips, maximize your bank balance, future-proof your business. We put the 2 fields in, their first name and email. It's always a struggle whether we should go for 1 or 2. I personally prefer just the one, the email. Again, a bit of shots about it, screenshots, what is it, what do you get? Now, very quickly, I'm going to show you my favorite all-time example. I'm going to look at it together. This is for a firm that sells vegetable seeds. And of course, they want to start a relationship with gardeners who grow vegetables. Problem they're focusing on is small yields, never quite seem to grow enough. So have a think in your head, just, what would you want to say? What would you want to get across? How we can get that value over? How to, I can't read the top bit, was it how to feed a family in 4 in just 4 square feet of space, even if you don't have a yard? You can see how compelling that is. And again, they just want your email address. But really focus, try and put yourself in their shoes. It's the essence of effective marketing, especially for your perfect clients. Everything you do, try and look at it from their eyes. Here's just an example of one we put together, we've used for a while. I don't think we're using it much at the moment. How to avoid the low fee, high maintenance client trap. Just from my years of talking to accountants, I think with you as well, Shane, that kind of resonates with a problem for so many firms. Does your website have a compelling call to action? Have a quick look, click onto the other window and give yourself that mark out of 10. What are you asking them to do? How easy are you making it for them to start that relationship, to get their email address so you can start communicating with them? We have now covered those 3 areas in as much detail, I suppose, as I could with the limited time that we have. So what questions do you have? How can I help fill in some of those areas I've really charged through? Now, if Andrea's there, if you have any questions, you can read them out, or hopefully we'll see them together. I mean, what I would love, if anybody is watching any of this and has any slight disagreements or anything they're not quite sure of, come and tell us. If perhaps you think there's a different approach that might work just as well, then please do tell us. Should you show your team on your website? Absolutely. I think it's so important to try and get across that kind of unique character. One of my favorite images is from an old client of ours and an AVN member, Damien Turner from Turner's in Motherwell. And he's got the whole team and they've all got their arms on each other's shoulders. And you can just see it immediately gets an emotional reaction, all big smiles. And you just kind of sense that these are happy people who enjoy working together. One of the ways, if you're listing your team, if you've got, meet the team page, look at it again from the perspective of your clients. So it might be, hi, I'm Joan or I'm Jim. You'll come into contact with me. You'll meet me when you're doing your VAT return or when we're doing, so introduce them in the context of how they're going to actually engage with them.
We've got another question, Patrick.
Yep.
Is an About You page a good idea, or should this be throughout the website? That was from Oliver.
Well, yeah, great question. It's both, really. It's almost, we're speaking between the lines about the team, but I think if I go back to the conversations that I've heard over the years from business owners who are starting to get interested, what they do is the first few questions are there to see if it's worth continuing the conversation. So it's typically, where you're based? Okay. Or no, that's too far. Then it's how many partners? How many in the team? Again, why are they asking that? Some usually because, well, if you're ill or if the main partner's ill, I'm going to be left in the lurch, or, what's behind the team, So it's what you really want to get across with the team, especially the leaders, is get your character across.
Patrick, sorry, I don't think that's what Oliver meant. It wasn't referring to having an about us, it was an about you. So if you think about Libby Berg's
I'm
page,
sorry.
for example, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. What we help a lot of clients with is the about you. I'll see if I can show you an example in a minute or two. But what you would focus on would be, we get along great with clients like you, like these clients. We don't get on so well with clients like you, these characteristics. So again, it comes down to trying to break free from this trying to appeal to everybody. Call out what you like and what you don't like. I'll show you a very quick example if you like. Now, let's hop back. We started with Mihal, so we'll have a look at him again. About you. This is a good example of getting your character across. And again, it's just, I'm only going to work with you if I really think I can make that difference. We're great with people like you. we're not so good with people like you, and hasn't he put that across well? That was Mihul's idea. I claim nothing for that.
We've got a
But
couple
again,
more questions, Patrick. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
sure.
So Karim asks, would you suggest we have a dedicated separate website to attract the perfect client operating in, say, a niche sector or industry? We want to move away from compliance.
So is it niche sector or kind of advisory work? Well, let's think. I think one of the ways you can get through this is early on in the website, actually give them the option. So are you looking for this? Click here. Or are you looking for this? Click here. And then you take them on a journey. Something we've both been working on, Shane, is using a video sequence to do this.
Yes, that's
So,
right.
again, they want to see you. They don't want to talk to the team. They want to talk to John or Jane. They want to see you. The earliest you can get your picture, your face, your character, your quirks out there, the better. So I know something Shane's done is, hey, if you find yourself like this, click this button. Otherwise, and Shane just talks it through. Is that you might want to expand a bit more on that, Shane? But...
Yeah, absolutely. I think, in fact, I'm just about to make live our newest website. It's not finished, but then it never will be, will it? So I'm definitely in the spirit of ready, fire, aim. So I'm just about to put that on there. And actually, and forgive me if I take up some of your time, but I'll just very briefly explain this. One of the things that we realised, and you know this, Patrick, is that, for many years, AVN have had a kind of a one-size-fits-all approach with their membership. And we've kind of shoehorned little bits to change and tweak for startups right through to people who are looking to exit. So actually, one of the things that we've now done is we've split it out and we've created 5 different products, identifying that there are people who are starting up or started up that need some very different help to people who are maybe stuck, trying to get past maybe 100, 150K, to the people who actually just want to put the scalability mechanisms in place, people who are mature but not necessarily future-proofed, and people looking to exit. So actually, there's a lot of different options there. So we've kind of nano-niched, if you like. We've got our accountancy sector, and there's certain criteria around that, but then we've gone even deeper and split that into 5. So the videos on there do exactly that. Otherwise, it's going to be too confusing. So it's kind of leading them on there. Different sites I see as well might just say, if you're in this sector, click here, and then it takes them to a landing page for it. So you have said on there that you want to move away from compliance. I mean, that's up to you, Karim, but I think, the fact that you are an accountant and do their compliance gives you a unique insight into their business as well, and really complements the advisory service that you can deliver. So forgive me if I've gone off on a big tangent.
Not at all. It's the foundation, isn't it, Shane? The compliance. It's what it all grows from. It's the great advantage that we have over business coaches or, other advisors, potential advisors there.
Oh, Patrick, if I may just interrupt for a moment. We've got a couple of other questions.
Sure.
I'm just got an eye on the time.
Yep.
For people, Kirsty asked, we have our minimum prices on the website to time wasters and to be transparent. Is that a good idea? And then we've got another question. I'm a new bookkeeper. How do I communicate my POG on the website? Would it be an idea to perhaps go back to those people individually? Because I've just noted the time.
The first one, Kirsty was asking about, what was that again, very quickly?
Minimum fees on website.
Sorry?
Whether to put her minimum fees on the website.
Hey, we've got a few clients, if you're looking for cheap, we're not it. If you're looking for this. So yeah, I mentioned Damien in Motherwell, his minimum fee, and he's very upfront about it, it's £3,500. So he won't really have a conversation unless he wants you to know that instantly. So hopefully that helps. Right, now, I said that what I would do is try and give you as much help as I could within the time. If you would like some more help putting this together, I just want to show you how we can do that. So if you'd like some help with attracting those perfect clients, there are 3 ways that we can do that. One is we can actually produce a new website with you that does have your perfect client at the focus, at the core. It amazes me how little website designers know about the clients that these websites are built to attract. They don't ask questions about them. The only questions are about the firm, because they're selling to accountants. Websites that accountants like the look of. there's a marketing phrase, you know, whether you like your website or not, it's irrelevant. You know, it'd be nice, but it's pretty much irrelevant. It's not for you. Now, the other thing we can do is we can actually work off an existing website. We will always say, no, you don't need a new website. What you have is perfectly adequate. Why recreate the whole thing? Let's just focus on the content. So that's an area we can really help with. And I suppose one of the biggest areas, of course, is this proof of gain. How we can, once we focus on the problem, how we can demonstrate convincingly that you can actually deliver, so that it really connects, like when we were watching Ed.